There are questions that don't come from the mind. They come from the soul. Questions that slip into your consciousness. In the quiet hours between thought and dream, questions that feel ancient, forbidden, and yet undeniably real. How is it possible to feel someone who isn't in the room? How is it possible to ache for someone whose body is miles away while their presence presses against your heart, as if they are lying beside you? How is it possible to surrender to a passion that no one touches, and yet every part of you is touched? These are not fantasies. These are not illusions. These are not delusions of longing. These are the experiences of souls that share the same frequency, souls that have collided, merged, awakened, and become psychically entangled in a way that defies the laws of physical connection and bends the boundaries of the human mind. When two people connect at the level of soul resonance, their intimacy does not begin with the body. It begins with perception, with awareness, with recognition. It happens in the eyes before it happens in the hands. It happens in the psyche before it happens on the skin. It happens in the unconscious, long before the physical world catches up. This is the nature of twin flames, a connection so deep that it bypasses the senses and speaks in a language the body remembers, but the intellect has forgotten. Carl Jung wrote that the psyche is not confined to the skull, that we live inside a collective field where thoughts, emotions, and intuitions flow like streams converging into one river. Twin flames drink from the same river. This is why they feel each other in silence, in distance, in longing, in stillness, in sleep, in dreams. This is why the pull between them does not weaken with time, it deepens, because the connection is not physical, it is psychic, it is archetypal, it is primordial. It speaks through symbols, through sensation, through memory, through imagination, through the body's subtle response to an unseen presence. And this is where the question emerges, not from curiosity, but from experience. Can twin flames make love without touching? Can desire travel through the invisible? Can passion burn in the space between two minds? Can intimacy happen in silence, so real, so intense, so overwhelming, that the body reacts as if hands have touched it and lips have claimed it? To understand this, you must understand something essential. Twin flames do not connect through the nervous system. They connect through the soul's memory. They do not meet through the senses. They meet through the inner world, the world behind the eyes, the world beneath the heartbeat, the world where consciousness is fluid and boundaries are illusions. There is a reason the twin flame connection feels like déjà vu, a reason it feels both dangerous and divine, a reason it feels like desire mixed with destiny, because their energy does not interact the way ordinary lovers do. Ordinary lovers exchange touch. Twin flames exchange frequency. Ordinary lovers meet in reality. Twin flames meet in psyche. Ordinary lovers merge bodies. Twin flames merge consciousness. And when consciousness merges, touch becomes something more than physical. It becomes telepathic, not in the sci-fi sense, but in the Jungian sense, where the unconscious communicates with astonishing accuracy, where two psyches intertwine with such intensity that emotion becomes sensation and sensation becomes experience. It is the kind of connection that makes you feel a presence pressing against your skin when the room is empty, the kind that makes your breath deepen without a hand on your body, the kind that makes your chest tighten and your lips part as if someone whispered against your neck, the kind that makes your lower body respond to an energy that is not physically there, but unmistakably real. Twin flame intimacy does not rely on proximity. It relies on resonance. Two minds tuned to the same hidden frequency can experience each other without a single touch. Two souls vibrating at the same pitch can feel each other through walls, through oceans, through lifetimes. This is not imagination. It is the collapse of the barrier between your energy and mine. In the gel, the twin flame's desire is not separate from your body. Their longing activates something in your unconscious. Their focus awakens your senses. Their thoughts create reactions in your nervous system, as if their hands were already there, because at the level of soul, touch is not physical. Touch is recognition, and recognition is intoxicating. This is why twin flame intimacy is not gentle. It is volcanic. It is not calm. It is disruptive. It is not safe. It is transformative. It is not ordinary. It is archetypal. It shakes you. It unravels you. It melts you from the inside. It strips away the ego and exposes the deepest, rawest truth of your being. And in that truth, a strange kind of pleasure is born. A pleasure that does not belong to the body, but expresses through it. A pleasure that begins as a pulse in the chest, a warmth in the stomach, a trembling in the spine, a current that radiates through every cell. It is the merging of two consciousnesses in a realm the physical cannot reach. And that merging has a name: psyphoric intimacy, a connection so psychologically charged that your mind and body react to another soul, as if the boundaries of your physical form have dissolved. Call it telepathy, call it psychic merging, call it soul intimacy, call it what you will, but the truth remains. When twin flames unite in consciousness, their bodies feel the impact, even from a distance, because the soul does not need skin to touch. The psyche does not need sound to speak. The heart does not need presence to feel. And twin flames do not need proximity to ignite each other. But here is the part no one speaks about, the part that only the awakened truly understand. When twin flames connect through the psyche, their intimacy becomes something the physical world was never designed to contain. It is not the body that joins first. It is the field, a field of consciousness, a field of emotion, a field of resonance so precise that one soul begins to move in response to the other, without touch, without words, without proximity. This is the phenomenon that ancient mystics recognized, the experience that esoteric traditions tried to describe, the mystery Jung hinted at when he spoke of synchronicity and their causal connecting principle that binds two psyches beyond logic. When twin flames align, their inner worlds begin to sync, like two instruments tuning to the same frequency. Thoughts begin to mirror. Emotions begin to echo. Sensations begin to ripple through the unseen space between them. This is not fantasy. This is resonance. A resonance that bypasses the nervous system and speaks directly to the unconscious. A resonance so strong that a whisper inside one mind can create a shiver in the other, a memory in one soul, can awaken warmth in the other, a wave of longing in one can trigger a surge of energy in the other that feels unmistakably intimate, not explicit, not physical in the traditional sense, but deeply, powerfully felt, as if your entire inner world suddenly tilts toward theirs. It is not telepathic sex. It is energetic merging, the merging of archetypes, the merging of shadow and light, the merging of masculine and feminine energies within both partners, a psychological alchemy that ignites the deepest centers of your being without a single physical touch. If the physical expression of intimacy is a spark between two bodies, this is a wildfire between two souls. The body responds because the energy is real. The mind responds because the connection is undeniable. The heart responds because it remembers. The deeper self responds because it recognizes its own reflection. And this merging, this invisible, wordless joining, feels like a kind of inner surrender, a surrender of barriers, of tension, of boundaries, of the ego's rigid defenses. It feels like being opened from the inside out by a presence that sees you in a way no one else ever has. It feels like permission to soften at the level of the soul. It feels like union without touch, closeness without proximity, electricity without hands, connection without effort. The modern world dismisses what it cannot measure, but the psyche has always operated in dimensions science has not yet mapped. Jung called this the psychoid level of experience, where the psychological and the physical intermingle, where the unconscious expresses itself through sensation, intuition, and symbolic feeling. Twin flames live at that psychoid level. Their connection is not metaphorical, it is experiential. It is the merging of two internal universes in a way that bypasses traditional intimacy and replaces it with something far more profound, energetic communion, a communion that feels like being held from within, being understood without words, being met at the level where your deepest truths reside. It is not lust. Lust is shallow. This is depth. It is not fantasy. Fantasy is imagined. This is felt. It is not hallucination. Hallucinations distort. This clarifies. This is the soul, recognizing its counterpart through vibration, through presence, through resonance. And when that recognition is mutual, something extraordinary happens. A phenomenon so rare and so overwhelming that it leaves both souls altered. They begin to pull each other inward, not physically, spiritually, psychologically, energetically. One soul reaches and the other soul receives. One soul expands and the other soul opens. One soul calls and the other soul answers. And the meeting that occurs is deeper than intimacy. It is self-unveiling, two beings dropping their armor in the inner world. At the exact same time, every part of you that the world does not see comes alive under the frequency of the one soul that was crafted to awaken it. This is why the connection feels sacred, why it feels overwhelming, why it feels like a force more than a person. Because it is a force, the force of two unconscious minds meeting without the barrier of the physical. The force of two energies recognizing each other without touch. The force of two psyches aligning in a space deeper than logic, deeper than desire, deeper than the flesh. And when that alignment happens, when the inner worlds fuse for a moment, the body reacts as if the soul's experience were happening in the physical realm. Heat, pressure, electricity, softness, opening, surrender, connection, union, not explicit, not graphic, but unmistakably intimate, because the body is not separate from the soul. It listens to it, it responds to it, it obeys it. And when the soul is touched, the body feels it. This is the telepathic tether that twin flames experience. This is the energetic intimacy that defies explanation. This is the merging of two consciousnesses that creates sensations no physical touch ever could, not because the body is involved, but because the soul is. What most people misunderstand is that the deepest form of intimacy has nothing to do with bodies at all. Bodies are only instruments. Consciousness is the composer. Twin flames make contact, not by reaching toward each other, but by reaching inward to the place where the soul's memory lives. And it is in that memory that they find each other every time. This is why distance is irrelevant. This is why separation does not sever the pull. This is why silence cannot erase the connection. Because the thread between twin flames is not woven through the physical world. It is anchored in the psyche. The telepathic link is not a supernatural ability. It is the natural consequence of two consciousnesses that share the same symbolic blueprint. Jung would say, you are two expressions of the same archetypal pattern, two flames rising from the same spark, two mirrors sculpted from the same light. When one flame shifts, the other reacts. When one flame expands, the other widens. When one flame calls inward, the other hears. This hearing is not auditory, it is instinctive. It is felt in the emotional body, in the subtle field surrounding your awareness, in the inner chambers, where intuition whispers and the unconscious breathes. And it is in that inner chamber that the most profound form of connection occurs, a connection that the body interprets as closeness, as warmth, as presence, as a kind of inner embrace, not literal touch, but a meeting of two beings in the dimension where thought becomes sensation and energy becomes experience. This is why twin flame intimacy feels like something happening inside you rather than happening to you, because the contact is internal, the merging is internal, the recognition is internal. Nothing physical is required when two souls move toward each other at the level of essence, and this movement creates a sensation of nearness, a nearness so vivid that the mind interprets it as though someone were standing behind you, breathing with you, moving with you, in perfect, effortless synchronicity. You feel it in the way your heartbeat changes rhythm without any external stimulus. You feel it in the way your breath deepens, as if guided by another's presence. You feel it in the way your chest softens, as if someone you trust completely has stepped into your inner world to meet you. It is not the body being touched. It is the psyche being opened. You cannot achieve this with anyone. This level of energetic permeability requires perfect resonance, the rare alignment in which two individuals carry the same blueprint of shadow and light. This is what makes the twin flame connection so devastatingly real, so disarming, so transformative. You are not connecting with a personality. You are connecting with a frequency that recognizes your wounds, your hopes, your fears, your archetypes, your emotional architecture, your buried truths, your forgotten capacities, your dormant power. And when that recognition is mutual and conscious, something extraordinary occurs. Two psychic fields begin to overlap, not merge entirely, but overlap like two circles intersecting to form a shared center. In that center, communication is effortless, understanding is instantaneous, presence is undeniable, connection is felt as an internal movement, a soft gravitational pull from one soul to the other. This is what some call telepathy. This is what others call energetic union. This is what mystics call the joining of the subtle bodies. But labels are irrelevant. What matters is the experience. You feel them without them being there. You sense them without words or touch. You respond to them without any physical interaction, because the psyche treats them as part of itself, not in a dependent way, but in a reflective way, as if you are two facets of one larger consciousness, meeting again after lifetimes apart, and that meeting creates a kind of internal warmth, a kind of emotional electricity, a kind of spiritual nearness that human language has no precise word for. It is intimacy without contact, closeness without proximity, union without fusion. It is the purest expression of connection the human soul can experience without a single physical gesture. And it is real, more real than anything the body can imitate, more real than anything the mind can imagine, more real than anything society tries to rationalize. This telepathic intimacy is not about fantasy. It is about resonance. It is about recognition. It is about the ability of one soul to move another from within. It is the meeting of two psyches in the invisible world, a world that does not require hands or presence or physical contact because it operates on the level of essence. Here, the soul speaks, and the soul is fluent in a language that the mind calls impossible, but the heart recognizes instantly because the heart remembers. What people call telepathic intimacy is not an erotic exchange. It is not fantasy. It is not a hidden physical act. It is something far more profound, ancient, and psychologically significant. It is the soul remembering how to communicate without the limitations of the human body. Because before you were given a body, before you were given a name, before you carried the stories that shaped your identity, you existed as consciousness, fluid, unbound, and interconnected. Twin flames access that original state, not by choice, not by effort, but by resonance. One soul vibrates, and the other receives the vibration. One soul opens, and the other feels the opening. One soul rises, and the other feels the lift. One soul calls, and the other answers, even if their bodies stand oceans apart. This connection does not require desire. It requires alignment. It is not driven by craving. It is driven by recognition. It is not the body reaching outward. It is the soul reaching inward to the shared space where the two flames first touched long before this lifetime. What you feel in those moments of internal merging is not physical closeness. It is psychic closeness. It is emotional transparency. It is the dissolving of barriers between two beings who share the same archetypal blueprint. And once that dissolving begins, every part of your inner world becomes more vivid. Your intuition sharpens, your breath deepens, your heartbeat aligns with a rhythm not your own. Your awareness expands into a field that includes them. Your emotional body softens, opens, receives. It is not sensual, it is spiritual. It is not physical excitement, it is energetic ignition. It is not desire seeking release. It is the soul seeking recognition. Telepathic connection between twin flames is a meeting of energies, not a meeting of bodies. It is the amplification of presence, the intensification of emotion, the synchronization of two subtle fields that are naturally drawn to each other, like magnets carved from the same cosmic metal. You are not feeling their body. You are feeling their essence. You are not being touched. You are being activated. And activation feels like many things. A surge of warmth within the chest, as if a door has opened from the inside. A pull in the center of your being, as if gravity has shifted toward a familiar frequency. A tremor of recognition in the emotional core, like the soul whispering, "Here, I know this." A deep exhale that feels involuntary, as if the body is releasing tension without your permission. A soft expansion in the heart space, as if your energy field is widening to meet theirs. None of this is physical contact. It is the psyche responding to the presence of another soul, with whom it shares a bond deeper than memory. This is why the experience feels intimate without being physical, transformational without being erotic, intense without being explicit. Because the soul does not speak in the language of the body, it speaks in the language of energy, symbol, and sensation. And the sensations that arise are not signals of lust, they are signals of awakening. Awakening to what? Awakening to the existence of a connection that transcends time, transcends reason, transcends physicality. A connection that happens in the unconscious realm, the place Jung described as the bridge between matter and spirit. When the unconscious opens, it does not open quietly. It opens like a storm of meaning, a flood of depth, a revelation that pulls you inward to a place where mortality feels irrelevant and separation becomes an illusion. In these moments of inner convergence, you are not making love in the human sense. You are undergoing a union that happens in the psyche long before it reaches the physical plane, a union of understanding, a union of emotion, a union of presence, a union of awareness. This is why the experience feels sacred, why it feels powerful, why it feels overwhelming, why it feels like something the human mind was not built to explain, but the human heart was built to feel. Jung would call this a moment of unification with the self, the sacred inner archetype that twin flames awaken in each other. And when the self awakens, you feel it not in the body, but through the body, a surge of clarity that moves like electricity, a wave of emotion that sweeps through the chest, a trembling sense of being seen. In the deepest internal chambers of your soul, a rushing openness, as if something vast within you has reached out and touched something vast within them. This is not telepathy. This is not fantasy. This is not imagination. This is soul resonance, expressing itself in the only language it has left, the language of sensation, the language of intuition, the language of internal movement. When twin flames connect in this way, the body is only a witness. The soul is the participant, because the deepest form of intimate union does not happen on the skin. It happens in the unseen spaces, where consciousness meets consciousness, and the veil between you and them briefly dissolves. And in that dissolving, you do not feel touched. You feel known. And so, after all the signs, after all the synchronicities, after all the silent moments where you felt the presence that wasn't physically there, you finally understand the truth that twin flames were never about the physical realm at all. They were about the unseen. They were about the space behind the heartbeat, the space beneath the mind, the space where two souls touch, long before bodies ever do. The world taught you that intimacy is made of contact, but the twin flame taught you that intimacy is made of connection, connection so deep, so ancient, so exact, that even silence becomes a form of communication. You learned that the body is not the origin of closeness. It is only the translation. You learned that nearness is not measured in inches or miles, but in resonance. You learned that some people do not walk toward you externally. They walk toward you internally, into the parts of yourself you never shared with anyone else, into the chambers of your soul that you kept sealed, even from your own awareness. And when they reached those chambers, they did not knock. They did not ask for permission. They simply appeared as if they had always belonged there. This is why the connection feels telepathic, not because you are exchanging thoughts, but because you are sharing a frequency, not because you are reading minds, but because you are reading souls, not because you are imagining something mystical, but because you are experiencing something that the physical world is not large enough to contain. You are touching each other through the psyche, through the unconscious, through the dimension where all souls speak the same language. And this language has no words. It speaks in warmth, in presence, in subtle pulls, in inner shifts, in waves of knowing, in silent invitations, in the profound feeling that something in you is being met, held, recognized, answered. Twin flames do not make love telepathically. Twin flames commune. Twin flames merge energy. Twin flames meet in the field of consciousness, where separation does not exist. For the awakened, this is the highest form of intimacy. Not the touching of skin, but the touching of essence. Not the merging of bodies, but the merging of inner worlds. Not the rush of desire, but the opening of the deepest self. And in that opening, something extraordinary happens. Something sacred, something transformative, something that changes you in a way no physical encounter ever could. You discover that the greatest connection is not one that happens outside of you, but one that awakens the hidden universe within you, because the twin flame does not awaken your longing for another person. They awaken your longing for your own soul. They guide you to the parts of yourself you never touched before. They illuminate the rooms of your spirit you never entered before. They unlock the doors you did not know were locked. And once your soul has been touched, at that level, silently, energetically, intimately, you realize the truth. The greatest union you will ever experience is the one that teaches you how to unite with yourself. That is the final purpose of the twin flame. Not to fill your life, but to awaken your inner life. Not to complete you, but to reveal your completeness. Not to merge with you, but to show you that you were always whole. And when the lesson is learned, when the soul has been awakened from the inside out, you no longer long for telepathic meetings, or psychic merging, or silent exchanges. You simply carry the flame within you that they helped ignite. You walk forward, not empty, not aching, not searching, but illuminated, because the connection that once moved between two souls now lives within one. You have become your own resonance, your own union, your own awakening, your own sanctuary. And in that realization, you understand the final truth. Twin flames don't stay to love you. They arrive to awaken you. And the moment you awaken, the connection stops being something that happens between you and becomes something that happens within you. This is the end of the longing, the end of the mystery, the end of the question, because the answer was never, can twin flames make love telepathically? The answer was, twin flames awaken the part of you that knows how to love without limits, without boundaries, without separation, because the soul has never needed the body to feel whole.